I watched this video, I can't help but think how tragic and how awful this story is. I don't know if you got to hear all the specifics about it, but this young lady was one of the best interpretive dancers in all of China. That's like, I don't know, 1 billion people, and she's one of the best out of interpretive dancing, okay? Absolutely incredible. To the point where she gained national recognition, and they actually asked her to be a part of the opening ceremonies in the Beijing Olympics. Now, I don't know how many of you know about the Beijing Olympics, but that was like the coolest, most awesome, greatest opening ceremony in Olympic history. I can wait till you guys are all done talking. It's amazing when we edit videos how much I gotta wait. The Beijing Olympics, the opening ceremony, probably the most incredible opening ceremony there's ever been in Olympic history. They actually made DVDs that they sold for like $30 to $50 for people to buy that just had the opening ceremony in it. And this lady was going to be part of it. This lady was going to perform in front of hundreds of millions of people on live television. A week before the opening ceremony, she's practicing. And the platform that she jumps onto goes out from underneath her. She falls, and she's paralyzed. She ends up going to the hospital. And interestingly enough, her hospital was really close to the Bird's Nest. The Bird's Nest is the new arena stadium that China built for the Olympic Games. So she's laying on her back, obviously knowing what day it is. And then she hears the music start to the performance she was supposed to do. As she's lying on her back, not being able to feel her legs. She couldn't even sit up to look to see the bird's nest because it was too painful. So she's staying on her back, just looking out the window, and then all of a sudden she says she sees the fireworks up in the sky. And in this video, that's when she started to cry. I just think, oh man, what a crazy story. You know, reality is, most of us will never experience what it's like to be paralyzed. Reality would say that hopefully none of us will ever experience what it's like to be paralyzed. But I will tell you, in this life, there are times where we figure out and we find out and we realize what it's like to not be able to move. For instance, in our dreams, how many of you have ever had like a crazy dream while you've been sleeping? Alright, several of you. I remember having crazy dreams where like you can't scream. You know what I'm talking about? Where all of a sudden someone's coming at you with a knife. And you're like, and you can't like get nothing out. You know what I'm talking about? How many of you have had that? Where you cannot scream and you're like, you know, and just nothing's coming out. I've had dreams where for some reason I can't throw a football. I don't know why. I don't really care that much about football. It's not a sport that I really enjoy playing. I like watching it, but for some reason I have dreams where I get a football in my hand and I can't throw it right. And I don't know why. I literally wake up in the morning sometimes thinking I cannot throw a football, and I'll try to find the football as fast as I can, make sure I still can throw it. There's also times where I've had dreams where I can't move. Or I can't move the way I would like to move. How many of you have ever had a dream like that? Where someone's chasing you or you're trying to chase something else and you're like, I'm trying to run as fast as I can in my dream, and for some reason and the bad guy's catching you, or the bad guy's getting further and further away, and you're looking, the bad guy's there and you can't scream. I've experienced what it's like in dreams to not be able to move. The truth is, in my own life, I've kind of experienced what it's like to not be able to move. Again, in my own life, I've experienced in real life what it's like to not really be able to move. As a kid, I had a very common illness, at least it's a well-known illness called asthma. You probably have a friend that has asthma, or you might have had asthma in your life before. Some of you might still have it, but I had a very, very severe case of asthma, to the point where my dad could not play with me. He couldn't wrestle with me in the living room or chase me in our backyard in the grass. He couldn't throw balls and have me run after them and catch them. He couldn't just horse around and play around with me because I would end up getting an asthma attack. My asthma attacks were just, all right, I'm done. I'd cough for hours. My parents remember putting me to bed at night, and I would just cough and cough and cough and keep coughing, to the point that they got so irritated and just so mad at the fact, here's your little boy and he's perfect. I was very good looking as a boy. Just beautiful, and his gorgeous blonde hair, and he's so cute, and we just kiss him all up and all this type of stuff. And yet he's got asthma. It's like, great, my little boy could be a statue in Old Navy. But he can't do anything else. It was pretty much the way it was. Couldn't do anything. And I didn't ever really realize how hard this must have been for my parents until I started playing around with my own children. And the reality that my dad or my mom really couldn't do that with me because of how sick I was. So I ended up going to doctors and all kinds of specialists, and they gave me this inhaler. And it was interesting because inhalers were not really well known way back when I had them. I had this little device, and I would put a little gel cap in there, which there's actually powder in there. I'd put it in, I'd turn it, and it would open the cap so all the powder would come out. I'd put it in my mouth and go. And I'd have to do that before every recess so that I could get through recess. So I could walk from one end of the jungle gym to the other without having an asthma attack. And what was really great is all my friends and all the kids in the class go, yes, Kenny, Tommy's doing drugs. Tommy's doing drugs. And I'm like, I am not. It's my inhaler. I have asthma. Shut up. You know, and then the very next week, someone else, Tommy's doing drugs. Oh, it just really annoyed me. Like, I am not. It's asthma. You know, it's an inhaler. So that was my life. In a sense, I was just like these little army guys. I had 2 legs. I had arms. I had a head. It's always good if you have a head. I always tell Tristan, my son, you only get one head. You might have several fingers, but you got one head, so you better take care of it. He still rams it into walls and stuff. But I was like this army guy. 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 feet, all this type of stuff, yet I really couldn't do much with it. I couldn't run anywhere. I couldn't run around the room. I couldn't play around with my friends because I had this thing called asthma. It was as if I was paralyzed. There's a story in the Bible that I want to read to you guys tonight. It talks about a guy who was paralyzed. And it's found in John chapter 5. If you have your Bibles, if you could turn there, that would be great. Again, it is on the screen, and when I stop reading, what are you supposed to do? Read. Very good. John chapter 5. The healing at the... Very good. Sometime later, Jesus went up for a feast of the Jews. Now there is in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called